So the point of this meeting is to figure out what we can actually do for the battle test event on Sunday.
Yes.
Right. And remote control on Iron Glory will be
Amazing.
tracks and torso twist.
So far, we have tracks and torso twist. We just took it out. Micah controlled it for a good 10 to 15 minutes without any problems. He spun it around a few times with that, and he lost line of sight between the receiver and the transmitter, and nothing happened. It was perfectly fine. So I suspect that it's going to be fine as long as we have that antenna somewhere outside, preferably up high. As long as it maintains line of sight, we're pretty much good. So that should be good. So right now we have tracks left and right, torso twist on the slider board. My next task is to put in the joystick control that IHMC has, and kind of switch out the slider board. One, because the slider board is kind of like annoying to use, and two, because it looks much better. And so that's the next task. Then after that, we'll be adding the arms, and I'm hoping that adding the arms is not as difficult as I think it's going to be, or as it might be, because all it is adding 2 more modules with exactly the same specifications.
I mean, if we give Iron Glory any kind of weapon, it will hit a wire, a hose, a cable of some kind, and Eagle Prime will spray hydraulic fluid or shut down because of electrical failure.
Well, that's what these guys' problem. Right? Like they know it, right? Like they're going in knowing that that's the big issue.
So how are you going to limit that so that we don't just take that spear to the hydraulic tank?
Or is it okay if that does happen?
Right.
Yeah.
That is a relevant image.
Okay, so
This is what they look like when they're next to each other.
both robots are fully standing?
Yep.
Yep.
I think so.
Yeah, I don't see an issue as far as the Mark II being able to reach up and hit the cockpit if it has any kind of pokey thing.
Yeah, so there you go. Like your original comment of, was it you that just said Mark II can't hit above the belt?
They
No,
can't.
Guy was saying that was the original conception of it, was that it was a boxer's rule, right?
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like,
No hitting for the ground jewels.
it might be you might be right. It might be difficult to hit above the waist for the Mark II.
So, a couple things we can do, right? We can require Eagle Prime to be squatted, like have a starting position where it must be in, right? Because it's we know the robots are unbalanced, right?
So
We can take steps to make them unbalanced.
let's establish this right now. Is this the Eagle Prime wins match? Like, is that what you're trying to set up?
No. I would love to go for so just to back up, right? Like, it's easy to see how Eagle Prime could go down, right? Like hose, wire, etc. It's actually hard to see how Iron Glory would go down, other than getting knocked over, right? Like you could stab the engine with the knife, and then it would stop.
That's the equivalent of a crotch shot?
Actually, throwing a tread is probably the most likely failure.
Oh,
I would see
But it's not technically a KO.
That's the Mark II, actually. That's kind of what I was
Isn't it?
What's that?
If your opponent stops
Mark
moving.
II.
Yeah, but even the uppercut, right? Like you can tear the canopy off, you can tear the armor off, like
You can hit it with a wrecking ball.
you can hit it with a like the things that stop it from working are like the hose bundle coming up through the middle of it, right? The power unit in the crotch of
Or
the
you
robot.
hit the E-stop.
We hit the E-stop on it.
Yeah, we just take the E-stop away and then press it.
I mean, you could bust open the shoulder if you get around the side of it.
But it's still not gonna.
It's
Like,
not
even
gonna
if you
stop.
bust open the shoulder,
It's not going to break the robot.
No, if you bust open the shoulder, it'll go down because you'll have an open hydraulic connection.
if you manage to cut it before the manifold, yes. If you cut it after the manifold, any of the lines going to.
I mean, the manifolds are on the shoulder, so anything that happens where you are actually opening up that shoulder
Or
section
if
of it,
you destroy
or I
it,
guess torso.
you have to destroy that manifold.
Yeah.
Or at least damage enough to leak, which is not
It's
I don't think
way
it's
in
not
the guts.
easy.
What?
We'd never reach that all the
So,
way in there.
well, it sounds like we want to we don't necessarily want to predetermine who's going to win, but we want to formulate rules in which it becomes difficult to predict who would win. So,
I would like to, like BattleBots, I would like to formulate rules that make it entertaining to watch, even if there's not the true spirit of optimizing forward, right? Because BattleBots is like, you must have an active weapon, you can't just have wedges, right? They're like creating these faux rules to discourage people from just like engineering their way out of the problem and creating some optimal tank shape that wins everything, right? So
you want something without like an easy win button. Is that what you're saying?
yeah.
Okay.
I think
We want the fight to last longer than 5 seconds.
yeah. So there's a couple cool things going on, right? Like Eagle Prime can't just, I don't think it can just push Iron Glory over because it has hard plastic treads, right? Karatas had like actual grip on the ground and like a first gear that it could switch to. We might be able to go fast enough to do that knockout punch, but I don't know that I would bet on it.
Also, do we want to do that in front of a live audience? Like going at them
With a knife out.
with the knife out? Like,
Oh my god.
Full power. Yeah, what could go wrong?
I got that one. No, no, we don't. right,
So
guys.
that's gonna be our other big limitation, right?
Well, actually,
It's
But
also don't back your leg.
I think there's stuff like, you know, oh, the robot should be the same height, right? Like start there and like choose a height for Eagle Prime and say, hey guys, you have to fight at this height. Like, that's it.
A height that doesn't ruin the track base.
What?
If we're too low, well, you're articulating the arms, you can interact with the track base. There's no software limitation to keep it from punching itself into your stuff.
we also can like
Knifing itself is
spin. We can also like say that we have some restrictions on the Mark III, because otherwise it would just be unfair.
it's a handicap.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, fucking Eagle Prime's better equipped. We're gonna handicap it so it's a more entertaining fight for you guys to watch.
Yeah.
Well, how do we handicap that? Because like when we get
Lowering
into
it
the fight,
down a little bit.
Yeah, the height's
Okay.
not about it now.
the height, yeah, but like
Make the cockpit
there's no
smash
way
it.
you're going to be able to control Ryan
And
during
then-
the fight. He's just going to get aggressive
Yeah.
and go smash things.
Yeah. Exactly. You're
Isn't
smashing.
that
That's not bad.
Observation.
I think what we should have is a pushing rule. Like you can't like just grab like because Mark III can. I'm pretty sure the Mark III can
Turn it
just.
towards whoever's speaking.
I'm pretty sure that Mark III can just grab the Mark II and like, you know.
This is a great question. So we got these two robots. We've got one with rubber treads and real good low power, but it's got a lot of pushing torque. Mark II versus Mark III, and then just floor them both and see which one pushes.
Mark III will win.
Tractor pull?
I don't know.
Tractor pull, I like that.
The Mark II is like barely can move.
Well, Miles.
We've been like we've had Mike and I were like, oh, it's like how do we turn? And then Mike was like, this doesn't turn.
Yeah, no.
This
Just the
this
engine
doesn't
bogs
turn
down.
At all. And it's like, and it's just like, oh,
We might, to that point, we might actually want to put sand down.
yeah.
It turns a lot better when it's
So,
sand.
we also figured this out. We're pretty sure that the Mark II and the Mark III work on completely different surfaces because at like Japan there was like an inch of like dirt and the Mark III couldn't turn at all. Whereas like I'm pretty sure the Mark II would be fine on that.
The Mark II is so happy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like 100 pounds of marbles.
That's what I'm saying. Like
Ball bearings.
Put some jacks out there.
Dust is what you're gonna do.
I don't know if it's possible, but
I'm
putting
willing to watch
sand on
Timothy.
one half of the arena and then like having the other half be just like plain old like concrete. I mean that's
Are we
like,
gonna be kicking dirt in each
It
other's
literally
face?
did work at Maker Faire for Mark II. We put sand down at our first Maker Faire appearance in order to be able to move.
well no, I mean like in the sense of like well you have like the Mark III side which is just concrete and then you have the Mark II side which has sand on it because both of them perform better on like their respective sides.
Well, that's an excellent point, actually, if I can talk about that a little bit. Like, we have a relatively limited area for these things to fight in, and I don't know that going around each other is going to be, like, possible. I think with this layout, it's going to be more like boxers in your corners, you know, get back in there, kid. We're gonna sew you up, and then go out for a toe-to-toe round of fighting, and then like back off and do it again. Because like I said, I don't think there's gonna be like maneuvering around each other, at least not easily. There's not a lot of room.
We could do something like linear robot sumo. If you get pushed back behind a certain line.
Mark III
Alright.
is always moving that off.
You sure?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
I'm like,
It's got a
Team
power
Rob
to weight
a little bit
ratio
here.
going for it.
Team Rob.
Just know that Team Rob
Team Rob
is.
Rob on?
I want to see what happens. I don't care who wins. I would just like to see it.
That's a good team.
I'm just trying to make this as fair as possible. And like, to me, Mark III is much more capable than Mark II.
So sure, if right, so fair. We have to establish how you win first.
Yeah.
So that is robot gets knocked over.
God.
Stops working.
Stops working and can't restart.
Can't restart. Stops working and can't restart.
You got
Within a period
You
of
got
time.
like
Yeah, I
15 seconds or
5
like,
minutes
no.
between rounds. You got to repair a wire or disconnect something. Fine. If it takes longer than that,
If that is
that's
the rule set,
That's actually
if
probably
that is the
good.
rule set,
sure.
whoever is driving Eagle Prime should just full throttle towards Iron Glory. Yeah, knock it over as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Agreed.
That's
So then we
a
have
team
to think-
strategy.
So then we have to think about so then we have to think about like, is that an acceptable, like, is that something that we should shoot for? Because I think most people agree that that's the best strategy for
Eagle Prime.
Eagle Prime to win.
Right.
So like, if that's what happens,
Are we happy?
are we happy with that? Or should we change the rules? Actually, if you knock over the opponent, you're penalized. You're not supposed to knock them over. You're supposed to do as much damage as possible and still leave them standing. Like maybe that's another rule set.
Number of punches.
Number of punches, something like that.
Number of armor panels with scores on them. You know, with damage.
Maybe it's
Oh, there's
maybe we
referees
have
counting
a
contacts.
A meta
Can't
point
knock
here
over
is
1 minute?
whatever we do, I think our audience will care a lot that we explain. It's
Yes.
like, okay, today the rules are blah 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 blah. Let's see what it's like.
And
then
it
it's
I like
needs
that.
to have
So-
tangible, like qualitative value to it.
Yeah.
So that when we say if this happens or this happens, the audience can look and make the decision based on the qualifications we give them.
Right.
Is anyone familiar with drifting? The sport?
Yes.
You have 3 judges who have 7 categories, and then they give you a 1 through 10 rating based on how they felt you did, down to like the second decimal place, and then they calculate the win based on that.
Yeah.
So from an audience perspective, it's not very approachable.
Right.
But like US First, you know, we try and explain and have very simple rule sets. So we need a rule set, and they spend a year building that rule set and how to decide who wins. We're not going to do it in 4 days.
Can you stand and kneel? Like, is that a move? So like, say the Mark III charges the Mark II, and the Mark II just says, whoop, just goes all the way down. Would the Mark III still be able to knock him over?
I'm willing to watch.
I don't think it would be.
I don't think maybe.
If that's the case, then there's your defense, and then suddenly it becomes interesting because it's not a 5-second like match.
Still, we could just make a rule of like no charging. Like it must be like some sort of melee. You can't just
Would that
put a
make-
bunch of weight into motion and just try and bulldoze them over.
Yeah,
Would
that's
that
really
make an
hard.
entertaining match? Like, I think like a charging punch is one of the cool things that the Mark III can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would make an interesting match.
Bart Simpson.
But that's what, well,
yeah.
let me put it this way. If there's a defense against it, we should totally allow it. If there's no defense against it, we shouldn't. If it's no defense and it immediately ends, it's the golden snitch or whatever the hell that thing is in Harry Potter. That's
So how about this for just like a riff on this rule set? We have some predetermined height that both robots stand to. We like get them at that height. Ding 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 goes the bell. And then both robots are trying to damage each other for the first 2 minutes, but you cannot knock the other robot over. If you knock the other robot over the first 2 minutes, you get disqualified. You lose. After 2 minutes, like so, in the first 2 minutes, you're just trying to turn their robot off, and then after 2 minutes, like woo, 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 like oh god, now it's like the knockover,
Sudden death.
Yeah, I like that.
sudden death, and then then Eagle Prime just fucking like fires up and like or like whatever. But like at least that gives like 2
And then-
minutes where the audience is like, how are they gonna like do damage? Like now, so like Iron Glory's got to play on the defense for a little bit, but it's probably more reliable. Like what's gonna happen in those 2 first minutes, and then the siren goes, and then
And then Iron Glory grabs the hydraulic cables.
or maybe that,
Yeah.
yeah.
So when
that's-
there
that's-
is a breakdown like that with if a hydraulic cable gets snagged or a wire gets snagged in the first 30 seconds of the fight,
Yeah.
is there going to be some kind of allowed repair, like if it's something that the ground crew can't fix in 5 minutes,
Yeah.
it's a knockout, or because that creates.
TKO.
I guess so.
Because if it's like 5 or 10 minutes for the ground crew to effect the repair, that creates a dramatic situation where people are watching. Ooh, can they do it in time?
Yeah.
And
I'd say
I
in
can't
5
imagine
minutes.
any repair on Eagle Prime taking 5 minutes.
Yeah,
That's the point. Any,
No,
so,
if
like,
a
it's like-
hose gets torn and pulled out, then the ground crew can just run up and cap the line, and we lose an actuator.
But here's the thing, if it does do it and we go past the 5-minute line, you lost that match. But there's enough time now to do like a second match, so we're gonna get them up and then have them fight again.
So you're talking like rounds?
Or like I'm saying like when you like the round is maybe like there's exactly like Matt's thing, like the first 2 minutes, maybe like the round is 2 or 3 minutes, and then like okay, round 2. And like as you go further and further, the rounds become more and more dangerous or whatever.
Escalate.
Yeah, they escalate what you're allowed to do.
So to add on to the repair thing, maybe each team can have one like repair timeout. So like if in the middle of the fight, you know, a major hydraulic line gets broken, you're like, well, if that was working, you could continue fighting. So each team is allowed to like pause the match for 5-10 minutes for whatever we decide upon. If they can fix the problem that is very obviously the problem, like capping off a hydraulic line that's just purging oil everywhere, then they're not penalized or anything, and then continue the round after that.
Well, when we're talking about hydraulic failure, the likely hydraulic failure we're going to see is one of the leg actuators gets a hose pulled, and then the robot tilts to the side because one leg just drops and the other one stays up, and then it will be recovering from that position.
Okay.
Will be the process.
Those leg actuators are pretty far in.
No, the hoses, not
Yeah,
the leg actuators.
the
Those
hoses
trunk
are pretty
lines.
far in. The trunk lines.
The trunk lines,
Will
the
be
knee
different.
lines, we've got the loops right at the front of the knees. We've got the lines that come to the front that can be grabbed. We also have the encoders right there. With no
The
protection.
encoders are a thing. But the trunk lines are together, and they are manifolded. And if we pull one of those lines out, those are big lines. They are just gonna kind of. Well, I don't think it's gonna be as awesome as everyone thinks it's gonna look. Like I think you're gonna notice a big giant.
If a trunk line goes?
Yeah, like especially a return trunk line.
Do you remember when Dee was like, nothing will happen. No fluid will come out of this reservoir. And we had the nitrogen leak?
Oh, that was yes, that was awesome.
Excellent.
That was awesome.
That video is excellent.
Okay, so what you're saying is if I hit the bypass now, nothing's going to spray out of it.
Nothing should happen.
Okay.
Let's
try it.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah.
Well, that's exciting.
I was incorrect.
So I believe that there's still pressure in there, Dee.
Nothing's
yeah,
gonna happen. Nothing's gonna. Oh.
They'll be.
I don't see why.
I just don't think it'll be like the geyser that we think it's gonna be. I think it'll just be like a.
Like the last time we
I
thought
will
that?
take that bet. I will take your dollar, sir.
But the point
Gotta
is,
bring it on the
Let's not
line.
find
I
out.
agree. I agree that this. I think Matt's idea of like somehow like delineating when things get serious is the best way to make this entertaining.
My prediction is that Eagle Prime loses by damaging itself. By just punches, and then an encoder breaks, and then it stops.
We snag all the lines somewhere.
That is my prediction.
But additionally,
What?
if there's minor breaking, like why can't we just like have another match? Like there's no like what?
Oh, I think we should just keep going for like a certain period. of
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
yeah.
And like as long as we can, like I can imagine having something on our website where it's like Iron Glory, like 2 hash marks, and like Eagle Prime, like 4 hash marks or something. Like,
Sure.
so people like keep buying in and like,
That's
yep,
the
I'm gonna
ratio.
go see the rematch.
Can we get little vinyl cut silhouettes of both robots to put on each
Yes.
robot?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Oh, like World War II
We get
fighters.
hash marks.
There's like one Kuratas, like
Exactly.
on Eagle Prime, and then like a bunch of Iron Glories.
Yeah, like that.
So, do I understand that part of the high level, like back to one of Rob's points, is that we're trying to beta test, figure out what the rules will eventually be for the
Yep.
league, like real world test?
Yep.
Okay, so
I think it is okay to iterate. I think we like, put the rules down today and like, well, that kind of sucked. Like,
You gotta start
Or
with
we can
something.
say it's spar and then say the things we can't do. So instead of setting the goals of what we're trying to do, set the things that we know will be catastrophic to this event and say these are the things we're not going to do during this sparring match.
and then leave it a little bit more open and see what we like.
Yeah, because we really have no idea what like these things will do, and we could do that full Simpsons punch, and you get up there and it's just like clunk, and nothing happens.
right.
And then we could find out that just slapping Mark II in the face with a knife is amazing.
No.
So we want
Entertaining fight.
entertaining fight.
Like overall goal, entertaining fight.
One.
It's a round-based fight.
We want a fight that is going to help us decide what future
Is your
rules
shot
are.
blocked?
Hmm?
So you can just pass that back.
What?
I have a good shot at Matt writing on the board.
Oh, okay.
Rule set. I heard round based. I don't know if
Oh, it's not really a goal. I thought we
Yeah,
were writing
well,
down what we had just
yeah.
come up with. But
maybe like a fight that lasts at least a certain amount of
2 minutes, 3 minutes.
Oh yeah, timeline.
If we
Let's
could
say
get
3
2
minutes.
minutes, it would be awesome.
2 minutes of good solid tussling.
No, more than 2 minutes, and the Eagle Prime just overheats and it gets real boring.
I think that,
We gotta go down to a
How-
cooling
how
cycle.
is,
We'll just like hold out the knife and be like, stay away.
I think you guys are so pessimistic about Eagle Prime because it's like 10 minutes that would be too much. Eagle Prime will just die, and now it's like 12 seconds. I don't know if it can stand 12 seconds. Come on,
We're
it
trying to
definitely last.
manage
Sounds like if it
expectations.
overheats, it's poor driving. Tim.
Yeah.
You
Wait, you
know,
should have put the throttle up by my head. I can't reach that in minutes.
We also
and
want
twist
it
at
to
the
be
same time.
have a perception of fairness.
yeah. I said unpredictable outcome, but I guess
/ fairness.
How about some type of visible or visual failure?
Do we
Anything that
want-
Nah, I don't think that's something we can do without compromising it being real.
so. This is just like the thing I said earlier, just so we have something to start from.
And then we have another round.
Walk us through it.
Basically, both robots go to preset heights, and we say okay, audience, we've determined that the Eagle Prime is better, so we're gonna handicap it by putting it at the same height as Iron Glory.
So it can self
For the first 2 minutes, the robots, the aim is to not knock over the other robot, it's to do damage to them. If one robot knocks over the other one, the non-fallen robot is disqualified. After 2 minutes, it goes to sudden death mode or whatever crazy mode, and then it's just like anything goes. If you knock them over, you win.
I feel like that's the correct thing to do to have delineated time.
Yeah.
But what I would like to see is rounds where less and less more and more stuff gets allowed. You know what I mean?
We had a crane
we don't
side
even know
with
what we
wrecking
can
ball
do.
that we just allow.
Well, that's the
running
point.
over to-
That's the point.
That's really tough to figure that out. We don't even know what each
So we,
robot could
so
do.
we could pull the robot. So after 2 minutes, we could say
Round
that's the
one.
end. That's the end of the first round. We're gonna pull them apart now.
And then now round
And
2,
now
you're
it's
allowed to
fucking
X,
sudden-
Y, and Z.
Let
and
them
then,
run a cooling loop.
Yeah, and then then round 3 is I mean not in this case, but the idea is okay, ranged weapons are allowed, sort of that kind of thing. So you keep adding a dimension every round.
I
I
think.
would we could stretch time out more if we had 2 rounds too.
How long is this supposed to be?
Yeah,
No,
'cause there ends
are
up
we-
being
are we-
5 minutes in between rounds.
Are we doing no hits below the belt? Or maybe that's a later round or something?
Yeah. like you, as I said, like the first round is like
Yeah.
the warm up round, then it's like the real round, then it's like the serious round.
Round 4, dick punches.
Exactly.
This is real.
The dick punches have been unlocked. I repeat. Ding! And you just have like a board with like lighted things saying like, oh, you can get a wheel and spin it, and what's allowed in the next round.
The wheel of death.
Exactly.
Gotta have the wheel of death.
It's like what is that? The Mad Max Thunderdome.
Yeah.
It's a Thunderdome wheel.
There's a Thunderdome if we need one.
Well, yeah, I know, but like that's the point. I mean,
So
Zach's
this
dumb.
is like
I'm joking.
So this is like
Zach does not want to bring the
round
Thunderdome.
1 is this, and then round 2 will be like
Knockovers allowed. Round 3 is hitting below the belts allowed.
Yeah.
So
Round
if we
3
go-
is unlimited damage.
Can we make round 4, if we go more than 3 rounds, can we make like or round 5, the tiebreaker be the tractor pull?
No, because that's.
Let's put the most boring thing at the end, you guys.
I don't know. If they're both still working.
So
Yeah,
like,
but we tie them off at the tops of the heads so as they drive away.
I was actually just thinking.
that's terrifying.
Can we lead with tractor pull? Could that be like one of our lead-up events? Not tied off at the heads, but tied off at the...
Tied off at the junk.
That's right.
So let me just give some. If we drive them against each other, there's less chance of the string in between snapping.
Oh, okay.
If we
So
pull on the string, then
tractor pushing.
yeah, there's the possibility of that cable snapping and then rapid acceleration in 2 different directions.
And then the cable being a whipping hazard and projectiles.
But
and,
that is the tractor pull way.
Round 0,
I guess
tractor
both,
pull.
if we did a push,
Like sumo push.
sumo push,
Yeah, there
would
you
we
go.
need to fabricate some sort of push bar for the front of each one so they could
Just
not
like tire on
just
the
jam
front.
tracks?
Have
Okay.
you ever driven 2 vehicles against each other?
Well, not with the tires physically trying to climb up each other.
No, you just put like a tire hanging between the two of them. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
We'll put one of
Just
the
wing it.
one of
Do
the
it live.
big telehandler
Do it
wheels in between.
God, I don't like that idea at all. It's it just, I don't know, it just...
Look,
I-
I
we
can
did it.
assure you, Tim, I won't be anywhere near this thing when it happens. So my safety is pretty much guaranteed.
It was
We should
awesome.
put that
That
on
was,
self-preservation.
when it happened in Japan, that was awesome.
One other thing
So
we
I
should
guess
think
maybe
about
it's
is
okay.
like, if we want to structure the rules so that we do have an okay chance of getting to a knockover event, well, I guess that's okay. I was thinking like, are the robots just gonna, if the robot, so like let's say Eagle Prime breaks in round 1, do we say, oh, well, it lost in round 1, everybody go home, that's it? Or do we say, round 2 is now just Iron Glory wailing on a statue
With Orion and Tim inside.
with Orion and Tim inside?
Okay, yeah, that'd be exciting.
Don't take that away from Micah. Just
So,
let Micah
like-
wail on a thing.
This is just one difference between the rounds versus the sudden death mode. Yeah. So let's pretend I'm piloting Iron Glory.
From outside the robot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why would I ever say, wow, I give up, this is too dangerous for me. Like, I gotta just tap. It's like, I'm off to the side, like, I'm in a different...
Okay, let me give you 5 scenarios. Iron Glory all of a sudden starts to do something control-wise we don't expect. Iron Glory sets on fire. Eagle Prime starts to do something we don't expect. Eagle Prime sets on fire. Somebody from the crowd runs up because they're just want to go and do something.
But
They're
why
crazy.
would I give up if Eagle Prime gets set on fire?
We
Well,
don't
so-
care about
Like,
what
this
you
is
want to do
what-
strategy-wise. This is safety-wise.
Oh, should just
So-
do money stuff.
So I think what we're trying to do is separate, like,
Yeah.
what is the safety question and what is the team-based question.
Can
Right,
we
like
from
safety question, absolutely.
So-
if there's a fire on anything, like we
Yeah.
turn it off.
Can we
and
just-
obviously-
And that, by the way, that is the reason why you don't want remote pilot robots. Because then it's just like, oh, why fire him up? Fuck it. Just let him
go big or go home? First
Well-
or last?
Well, actually, there are reasons in a multi-round fight why you'd want to have why you would want to give up, say, for the round. So if you took a little bit of damage and you're like actively pouring out hydraulic oil or something like that, and you know if you stop now you could potentially cap it and fix it and have something that works the next round, then that could be a strategy to win, and that is why you would stop.
So if it's a point per round set,
Correct.
you can take the hit. But I still think we don't get away from the fact that we have safety problems that we don't have the technology to fix without putting all the e-stops in one person's hands. Is the ref an e-stop or is the ref something else? Is the ref a character or is the ref a safety role? Because I don't mind dressing the safety role up in a funny costume, but I do mind having them have to perform in some way for the crowd.
Yeah.
They should be divorced from the crowd. They should be focused on safety. So John as a visible safety officer in a referee shirt sounds great to me. John like performing for the crowd and throwing football flags or giving out yellow cards or whatever, right? That sounds great too, but not if he's also holding these stops.
Right.
Right? So like which, I guess we're talking about roles, so it doesn't matter, but
We're
we
just
need a
running
safety
out of
person,
people.
we need a
Yeah.
comms person, yes. We have 2 people in the Mark III, 2 people in the Mark II, and we're running out of people. Absolutely. I think we're okay with one person on both these stops, right? We have one.
Yeah, we should.
Hitter?
Yeah. Okay, that's fine.
I'm just for this weekend, right?
Yeah, sure.
Like I think you had a broader point about long term, which is valid.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Just to like sum up, the goals are we have an entertaining fight, helps us determine future rules. Each round is at least 2 minutes or longer. We have as fair a fight as we can between 2 robots that are vastly different weights and different heights. Make sure it's real combat, right? We have rules about the rounds. First round, we're trying to balance things. We're trying to make sure the robots are the same height. There's no instant knockovers allowed. There's no below the belt hits. As we go through, we allow more and more, and that's also a comfort thing, right? But we make sure that we're operating as safe as possible. Humans are safe. We have e-stops. If anything goes wrong on either robot, we can stop them, right? And we see what happens.